So, what's really going on inside a brain with ADHD? It's a question a lot of us have asked. And for a long time, even science was kind of looking in the wrong place. Today, we're going to talk about a whole new way of understanding the ADHD brain. And it's not a story about what's broken, but about how it's connected. Let's just ask it straight up. Is the ADHD brain broken? I mean, that's the fear, right? It's such a heavy question, and it's loaded with so much misunderstanding. It's a thought that can make you feel pretty isolated. And for a while there, the scientific approach wasn't really helping. For years and years, scientists were on this big hunt for a single, specific, faulty part of the brain that could explain everything, like one broken gear in a machine. But as our technology got better, that whole idea just got completely flipped on its head.
Yeah, the latest research tells a much more interesting story. It's not about a broken part at all. Instead, it's all about these subtle differences in how different parts of the brain talk to each other. It's a story about communication.
Okay, so to really get this, let's use an analogy. Instead of a machine with broken parts, let's picture the brain as this huge, complex orchestra with all these different sections that are supposed to play together in harmony. Now, in neuroscience, these sections are called brain networks. And it's a pretty simple idea, really. A network is just a team of different brain regions that all work together to do one specific job. Kind of like the string section playing one part of the melody while the brass section handles another.
For what we're talking about today, let's focus on three main sections of this orchestra. First, you've got the daydreaming network. This is your internal world, your thoughts, your memories, all that stuff. Then you've got the focus network, which, you guessed it, points your attention to the outside world. And finally, you have the conductor network. This is like the orchestra's actual conductor, handling all the planning, self-control, and decision-making.
Now, for the music to sound good, it's not just about having talented musicians, right? The sections have to coordinate. They need to know when to play loud, when to be quiet, and when to pass the melody over to someone else. The real magic is in the timing, in that coordination. And this is where we see the key difference. In a typical brain, these networks switch back and forth super smoothly. But research shows that in brains with ADHD, these networks can sometimes stay what's called hyperconnected. It's like the violins just keep playing loudly, even when it's time for the flute solo. And that makes it way harder to switch tasks.
So let's zoom in on two of the main players here, that daydreaming network and the focus network. The research really points to a different kind of interaction between them. That handoff, that little baton pass from your internal thoughts to an external task, it isn't always as clean and crisp.
So what does this actually feel like in the real world? Well, if that daydreaming network stays a little too active when you're trying to focus on something else, it feels like a constant pull on your attention. That's distractibility. And if the conductor's signals to the rest of the orchestra are a little less consistent, that can show up as challenges with things like impulsivity or even motivation.
And it's so important to remember that this orchestra is always changing. It's not static. The brain's communication patterns shift all the time throughout our lives, especially from childhood through the teenage years and well into adulthood.
Okay, so this naturally leads to the big question about medication. If the issue is all about communication, how can a pill actually help? This is another place where our understanding has gotten so much better. First things first, and this is absolutely crucial to get, medications don't fix the instruments. They don't go in and permanently change the brain structure. That is a huge misconception. A much better way to think about it is that for some people, certain medications can act like a temporary upgrade to the orchestra's sound system. They can just help the conductor's signals for focus and control get through a little more clearly while a task is being performed.
So let's circle all the way back to our original question. Is the ADHD brain a broken brain? After everything we've just talked about, modern science has a really clear answer. Nope, not at all. ADHD is not a sign of a damaged or defective brain.
It's a brain with a different communication style, a different way of wiring things up and switching between tasks. It's an orchestra that might play by a slightly different set of rules, but it is absolutely capable of producing its own unique, powerful, and often really creative music. And understanding how your orchestra works, well, that's the first step to helping it play its best.